Okay, so when I tell people that I've been traveling around the world for over 2 years, they often ask, aren't you afraid? And even though I would like to say that I've always been very adventurous, fear is exactly the thing that pushed me to travel. Fear has always been very present in my life, maybe because I was terrified of who I really was. So at the age of 25, I finally had enough guts to say goodbye to a career in accountancy and study fashion and design. I was terrified because I grew up with the idea of struggling artists on the streets. So instead of going for what I really dreamed of, which was having my own business, I ended up working as a designer at a company. I was not happy, but also afraid to try and maybe find out that I was not good enough. A traumatic operation and a string of events led to post-traumatic stress syndrome. I had to stop working, and some days were so bad that I wasn't even able to leave my room because I was caught up in this fear and I was shaking and trembling and crying the whole time. I was creatively blocked and ashamed of not being able to work and what was happening, and therapy didn't help. Felt like I fell in this black hole and I didn't know how to get out, or even if I would ever get out of it. It even felt like there was no point of living like this. But there was only one thing I still wanted to do, or which I always dreamed of doing, which was traveling. So as soon as I was on a plane to Bali, fear started to blend with excitement, and I was slowly letting strangers back into my life. By climbing rocks, mountains and volcanoes, I realized that I was much stronger than I thought, even though fear was telling me constantly to give up. But by moving through this fear, I could always go one step further. As I was feeling this fear constantly, I decided not to let this fear dictate my life. So I learned how to drive a scooter and ended up having an accident and a robbery in my home on the same night. So by then I figured out it was really about feeling this fear and getting back on the bike as soon as possible. Believe it or not, I had another accident on the way home from the hospital. So I had to get back on the bike and go back to the doctor where I just came from. Of course, fear has a function, and sometimes you have to listen to the little voice in your head that wants to protect you and tells you, for example, not to take a picture close to some monkeys. And I also met a lot of travelers and that were passionate about photography, and seeing life through their lens made me feel excited again about life's colors and textures. And in this magical environment, I started to draw again in my diary. And I was just drawing and drawing, and I couldn't stop drawing, and I was taking my diary wherever I went. So suddenly, the fear of going back to the life I just left behind was bigger than the fear to go what I was passionate about. So I found myself doing things that I would never do back home, such as approaching shops if I could sell my postcards, and displaying my work wherever I had a chance. So it was more about seeing how far I would get if I tried to make a living with illustrations of my diary. In the meantime, I was traveling, but my postcards, which were a part of me, were traveling even further. As one of my fears was to end up as an artist on the streets, I decided one night to sell my stuff right there on the streets. It was an incredible night, and I really felt like a big weight fell off my shoulders. Of course, I would still have difficult days, but I recovered much faster each time. Curacao, the island where I was born, also became a very important part of my journey. I collaborated with the local artist Garrick Marchena, And together we brought art to children in neighborhoods that were a neglected part of the historical city of Otrabanda. So we made a mural for kids and by kids, for them to feel proud of their artwork and also of their neighborhood. As pursuing a creative career was not really an option when I was growing up, I was very grateful to be part of Curaçao's World's Longest Painting, where the proceeds will go to founding an art academy on the island. Artists from all over the world came over out of solidarity, and it was very healing to be part of this change that will hopefully influence the career choices of creators in the future. All these experiences made me grow, and I realized that art is valuable. It has the ability to bring joy, to unite, to transform, and to heal. By challenging my fears, I found out that what lies behind fear is freedom. The freedom to create a life you want, and the big responsibility that comes with it. Thank you.